today. Thank you, Karan.
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you, Karan Prabhu and Sundari Saki Mataji for leading the Kirtan today. So let's start with our prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः जय श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्दा नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. I'm always scared of forgetting Mangala Charanam prayers every single time. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the three initiates, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, Vallabh Chaitanya Prabhu, and Vrinda Gopi Mataji. Okay, so today, as Gaur Kumar Prabhu had mentioned, Prabhu, I'm not able to share my screen. Do you think you can give me permission to share?
You should be able to, Mataji. Can you try again now?
I am not able to share,
Okay.
Prabhu. It's okay if you want to. If you can share, then that's also.
Maybe you can log out and log back in. I don't know what the issue is.
Okay, let me just be connected. Any other like yajna?
This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah. So whichever atonement that you try to do, there is nothing that's going to match the glory of holy names, chanting of holy names, and that's what we are going to be looking at. So can we start with one of the readers? We can probably read two verses per reader, and we can just keep rotating. Nitya Kishori Mataji, do you want to start?
Sure. So Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam 6 to 9 and 10. Stena surapo mitradru brahma guru talpagaha स्त्रीराजपितिर्गोहन्ता ये च पताङ्किनो अपारे सर्वेषामपि आगवताम् इदम् एव सुनिष्कृतं नामाव्याहरणं विष्णो यतस्तद्विषया मतिः. Translation. The chanting of the holy name of Lord Vishnu is the best process of atonement. For a thief of gold or other valuables, for a drunkard, for one who betrays a friend or a relative, for one who kills a brahmana, or for one who indulges in sex with his wife, with the wife of his guru or another superior. It is also the best of atonement for one who murders women, the king or his father, for one who slaughters cows, and for all other sinful men. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Vishnu, such sinful persons may attract the attention of the Supreme Lord, who therefore considers, because this man has chanted my holy name, my duty is to give him protection. Do you want me to read the other next one, or there's two already? Or
yes, Mataji, you can read this
okay.
One too.
Okay. 6 to 11. Na nishkater uditer brahma vai vadibhis tata vishudyate agavan vratadibhi yata hare nama pader udarte taduttama shloka guno phalambakam. Translation in purport based by Prabhupada ki jai. By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. Although ritualistic atonement may free one from sinful reactions, it does not awaken devotional service. Unlike the chanting of the Lord's names, which reminds one of the Lord's fame, qualities, attributes, pastimes, and paraphernalia. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that the chanting of the holy name of the Lord has special significance that distinguish it from the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies of atonement for more severe or most severe sinful actions. There are 20 types of religious scriptures called Dharma Shastras, beginning with the Manu Samhita and Parashara Samhita. But herein it is stressed that although one may become free from the reactions of the most sinful activities by following the religious principles of these scriptures, this cannot promote a sinful man to the stage of loving service to the Lord. On the other hand, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, even once, not only frees one immediately from the reactions of the greatest sins, but also raises one to the platform of rendering loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is described as Uttama Shloka, because he is famous for his glorious activities. Thus, one serves the Lord by remembering his form, his attributes, and his pastimes. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that this is all possible simply by chanting the Lord's holy name because of the Lord's omnipotence. What cannot be achieved through the performance of Vedic rituals can be easily achieved through the chanting of the Lord's holy name. To chant the holy name and dance in ecstasy is so easy and sublime that one can achieve all the benefits of spiritual life simply by following this process. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to Sri Krishna Sankirtana. The Sankirtana movement must have started, the Sankirtana movement we have started offers the best process for becoming purified of all sinful reactions and coming immediately to the platform of spiritual life.
Thank you for reading, Mataji. Do you have any reflections that you would like to share?
Yes. So this, this is a very powerful, these two, 3 verses, 9, 10, 11, in terms of just driving home the point of how, we may be doing lifetimes of Vedic rituals, but it may not even take us to the platform of even rendering loving service to the Supreme Lord. But even though committing, many sins of many lifetimes, just by chanting once, it eradicates not only all the sins, but raises us to the platform of rendering loving service. At least to be able to start, start our bhakti process. It also helps. And this is, this is so reassuring, especially in the month of Kartik, that when we hear that even once the chanting of the holy name is done during the month of Kartik, it multiplies 1,000 times. What to speak of, like this is the best time to actually read these verses and inculcate them to reap the utmost benefit, I guess. We are in the right month to be discussing about these glorious chapters of about Ajamila's, through Ajamila's pastimes, we are able to hear the glories of the holy name. And there are so many instances in the Srimad Bhagavatam where we see that the Vedic ritualistic principles were performed, and how the love is easily conquered by it. For example, the wife of the Brahmins, right? The wife of the Brahmins were performing ritualistic ceremonies. But when Krishna sends one of the cowherd, friends to ask for some prasad, the Brahmanas ignore them. But then the wives of the Brahmanas, they embrace the cowherd boys and gives them a lot of bhoga as prasad, even though they were meant for offering during the sacrifice that the Brahmanas are doing. And And the best part is that they've not even seen Krishna. They've only heard his glories, and still they were able to see through it. And love is definitely higher than rules, is driven so many times. And even in the pastime of Durvas Muni and Ambarish, yeah, so many, and also when we, the famous pastime about when Krishna has a headache, and says that the only way to eradicate the headache is to get the dust of the devotees, and they go in search of everybody says no, I can give dust by my dust, but not for Krishna, because they are all in awe and reverence. But the gopis, they have very simplistic love for Krishna. They're very pure love. It's all they want is this Krishna to be happy, not be relieved immediately of his headache. So they happily give him, just take all the dust you want, because I want to see Krishna happy. So that is a platform of pure bhakti. And so if the Vedic ritualistic performances are not able to give this this devotion for us, then absolutely there is something that we should look into, and just to see what can elevate us to the platform of pure devotional service, at least to the bottommost platform of the pure devotional service, I guess. I think that's all I have to share about this.
Yeah, very, very strong points that you shared, Mataji. Thank you very much. And it's, yeah. So whatever you have said, even Prabhupada has, like, enforced the points in the further purports. And for us to get into the loving devotional service, there should be a way for us to let go of the sins, and um, chanting the holy names is like the easiest and the best way to do, especially in this age of deterioration, which is Kali Yuga. And I was just remembering, in Vishnu Sahasranamam, um, there's a line that comes at the end of Vishnu Sahasranamam where Lord Shiva says this to Ma Parvati. So Ma Parvati is asking, she's representing all the Jivatmas, and she's asking, okay, this is the age of Kali Yuga, like everybody is short on memory, age, discipline. It's very hard to perform all these spiritual processes. So what is the easiest way? um, give us the easiest way to attain spiritual liberation, realization. And then Lord Shiva says, it's very easy, just chant the names of um, just chant the holy names. Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasra Nama Tattulyam Ramanamam Varanani. So she's saying nobody has the time to chant this Vishnu Sahasranamam every day. He says Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanamam Varanani. The essence of Sahasranamam is just there by chanting the name Ram. You just say it once, it's equal, it's the equivalent of telling the Sahasranamam. So it's the chanting of holy names. It seems like so simple, so small. Like, I don't see anything. Uh, what how does this help? But in the future, in the further purports, we will actually see how it helps. If we can go to the next purport, and Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, do you want to read the next two verses?
Sure. 6 to
12
12 and 13.
and 13. Yeah.
Oh, 6 to 12 only. Oh, you said 2 to, right? Yeah, okay. नैकान्तिकं तद्धिकृतेऽपि निष्कृते मनः पुनर्धावति चेद् असत्पथे तत्कर्म निर्हारम् अभिप्सतां हरेर् गुणानुवादः खलु सत्वभावनः. Translation. The ritualistic ceremonies of atonement recommended in the religious scriptures are insufficient to cleanse the heart absolutely, because after atonement, one's mind again runs towards material activities. Consequently, for one who wants liberation from fruitive reactions of material activities, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra or glorification of the name, fame, and pastimes of the Lord is recommended as the most perfect process of atonement, because such chanting eradicates the dirt from one's heart completely. The statements in this verse have been confirmed previously in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1-17. Shrinavatam Sokata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridayantastoya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Surachatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. It is the special mercy of the Supreme Lord that as soon as he knows that one is glorifying his name, fame, and attributes, he personally helps cleanse the dirt from one's heart. Therefore, simply by such glorification, one not only becomes purified, but also achieves the results of pious activities. Punya Shravana Kirtana. Punya Shravana Kirtana refers to the process of devotional service. Even if one does not understand the meaning of the Lord's name, pastimes, or attributes, one is purified simply by hearing or chanting of them. Such purification is called Sattva Bhavana. One's main purpose in human life should be to purify his existence and achieve liberation. As long as one has a material body, one is understood to be impure. In such an impure material condition, one cannot enjoy a truly blissful life, although everyone seeks it. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam 551 says, Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyet. One must perform tapasya, austerity, to purify his existence in order to come to the platform, to come to the spiritual platform. The tapasya of chanting and glorifying the name, fame, and attributes of the Lord is a very easy purifying process by which everyone can be happy. Therefore, one who desires the ultimate cleansing of his heart must adopt this process. Other processes such as karma, jnana, and yoga cannot cleanse the heart absolutely.
Would you like to share your reflections on this verse, Prabhu?
Yeah, it's again just echoing what Nitya Mataji also shared, the importance of chanting the holy names. And one thing that comes to my mind about this point that Prabhupada is repeating, that one by chanting the holy names, one's sinful tendencies are completely cleansed. One's heart is completely cleansed. So there is this one of the symptoms of bhakti is called kleshagni. Kleshagni, Shubhada, Sandrananda. Yeah, there are six basically. Six characteristics of bhakti. The first one is kleshagni. Second one is Shubhada. Kleshagni means the destruction of all kleshas or inauspicious things. And then Shubhada means, auspiciousness. So all auspiciousnness comes in the life of a devotee. Like that, there are four more. And then, so this Kleshagni, Acharyas talk about how the karma of the jiva is eradicated slowly. In Brahma Samhita also, karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. Govindam adi purusham tamam bhajami. So Brahma is saying that by worshipping you, the karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhaja. The karma is burnt away, right? So kleshagni. So the way it happens, Acharya said, and I've heard in some lectures, is there is a reaction of the sin that comes, that is the kind of the outermost layer, we can say, and then that reaction comes because of sinful activity that is performed. That sinful activity is performed because of a sinful tendency, which is called kuta. And then even deeper, even more subtler than that is like the basic misidentification that leads us to commit sins. That is like bija, that is like the seed of sin that is there in the heart. So there is this seed of sin which gives rise to the tendency to sin, which gives rise to the sin itself, which gives rise to the sinful reactions. And then bhakti is the only process which cleanses the bija as well. All other processes might cleanse, some karma here and there, and might bring us to the platform of zero. But then to really cleanse that bija, that seed of sinning that is there in the heart, we have to really take to the process of bhakti and let Krishna burn that basic proclivity to sin. And because as a sadhaka, um, one's previous karma does play does have an impact in the performance of bhakti for a sadhaka, for a uh, not for a raganuga bhakta. A raganuga bhakta who is tasting, he or she is anyway practicing bhakti because of taste, so they don't have any encumbrance because of the previous karma. But for a sadhaka, there is always this thing where certain circumstances created by previous karma can affect bhakti. And then it's so nice that the process of bhakti, one of the characteristics is kleshagni, where such things go away slowly, and then the path is cleared. Path towards Krishna for such a sadhaka is cleared.
Very,
And,
very
yeah.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry if anyone wants to share anything before we move to the next one.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to add on or share the realization before we move on to our verse 13?
Can I share something?
Yes, Vamsidhar Gopal Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. I may need like 2-3 minutes, but yeah, related to our discussion in, I mean, the last statement, that how other processes, karma, jnana, yoga, it cannot, cleanse the heart absolutely. So I think this whole pastime is so much insisting on this thing. And that at every point, like since the discussion of Yamdutas, and then about the story of Ajamila, everywhere we hear this, how that, as Jagannath Gopal Prabhu also mentioned, that bija remains and it grows, and again one falls into the sinful activities. So this in this context, I was reading story of Saubhari Muni, that he was practicing meditation for thousands of years inside the Yamuna river, so much so that his body was all kind of rotten. But he ended up seeing sexual affair of a pair of fish, and he developed very strong material desire to get married. He came out of the river. He went to the Mandhata. So there in the Saubhari Muni's pastime, this Prabhupada quotes this verse: Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanonmukhasya Param Param Jigmishor Bhava Sagarasya Sandarshanam Vishayinam Atha Yoshitam Cha Ha Hanta Hanta Visha Bhakshanato Pi Asadhu. Alas, for a person seriously desiring to cross the material ocean and engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord without material motives, seeing a materialist engage in sense gratification and seeing a woman who is similarly interested is more abominable than drinking poison willingly. So Prabhupada quotes this verse in that pastime. And then Saubhari Muni marries like all the so king says that you look ugly, and I have given my daughters right to marry whoever they want. And he goes to his daughters, and they all say no. And then he transforms himself into a very beautiful man, and then all of them marry him. So he marries all the 50 daughters, and from each daughter he gets 100 sons. So after many years, Saubhari Muni contemplates that in the beginning I was alone, and then but I saw, because of the association of fish having sex, I desired to marry. Then I became husband. Then I got so many kids. I increased my family to thousands of members, and because of influence of modes of nature, I became fallen. And I thought that I would be happy in material, but there is no end to my material desires for enjoyment in this life or in the next. So after that, so the end of this pastime is really sweet, I think, which I read, that uh, that after this he repents and he again starts austerity, pure devotional service. And because of his pure devotional service, all his wives are also get liberated, and they also go back to Godhead. That's what the next verse says. And in this way, like the I think I mean, it's never late, and that's what we learned, that how Ajamila come back. Similarly, Saubhari Muni also Krishna takes care of the devotee, so that gives us solace. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful pastime and wonderful realization, Vamsidhar. Thank you so much for sharing that. Does anyone else want to share anything before we move to verse 13? That will be read by Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Okay. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, do you want to read it?
Yep. Yeah. अथैनं मापनयता कृताशेषाघ निष्कृतं यद असौ भगवन्नाम म्रियमाणः समग्रहीत. At the time of death, this Ajamil helplessly and very loudly chanted the holy name of the Lord, Narayan. That chanting alone has already freed him from the reactions of all sinful life. Therefore, O servants of Yamraj, do not try to take him to your master for punishment in hellish conditions. Purport: the Vishnudutas, who are superior authorities, gave orders to the Yamadutas, who did not know that Ajamil was no longer subject to tribulation in hellish life for his past sins. Although he had chanted the holy name Narayan to indicate his son, the holy name is so transcendently powerful that he was automatically freed because he had chanted the holy name while dying. Ante Narayana Smriti. As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 7.28, Yesham Twantagatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dvandva Moha Nirmukta Bhajante Mam Dridhavritaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination. Unless one is freed from all sinful reactions, one cannot be promoted to the platform of devotional service. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 8.5, it is stated, Antakale cha mameva smaranamukva kalevaram yaha prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. If one remembers Krishna and Narayan at the time of death, one is certainly eligible to return immediately home back to Godhead.
Mm. Would you like? Do you
Yeah,
have any reflections for this verse, Prabhu?
nothing specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hearing a lecture from Prabhupada where Prabhupada says, whatever desires we have, Krishna actually will make it happen, because until and unless one is frustrated from material enjoyment, then it's very hard for that jivatma to like seek um seek why am I here, like how do I rectify the situation. So he was saying that, okay, if there is someone who really desires to like eat everything that's around him or her, then Krishna actually gives that person or the jivatma the birth of a pig. And pig, exactly, it eats everything. It eats edible fruits, stool, everything that's around it. So and then Prabhupada urges everyone to truly desire a place in in Vaikuntha or in Goloka. Like he urges everyone to desire a place there. He desires everyone to have like a very personal um, place over there and have personally associate with Krishna. And he's saying everybody should aspire for a place in Vaikuntha or in Vrindavana. That should be everyone's desire. Um, this was I felt like it was a very powerful sankalpa to have, especially before we start chanting our japa. And there is one more point here where he's saying that in the last line before the Bhagavad Gita verse, he was automatically freed because he had chanted the holy name while dying. It's actually just a little above the red text. Um, um, yeah, here. While dying. So, actually remembering something while dying, especially if we have not practiced it during our lifetime, it's very hard, because while dying, your your body is like tearing apart, like your organs are like one's organs are failing. There's laws of so many things. We don't remember anyone around us at that time. If we have not practiced chanting or any of the spiritual processes, it's going to be very hard to like remember when one is dying. And there is a line in Divya Prabandham written by one of the Alvars where the Alvar says, Appodaikku ippode sonnen Om Namo Narayana enna. These are two lines. So Alvar, who's like imagine them as Goswamis in who are in the south. So they are saying, so this Alvar specifically is saying, I don't know what's going to happen to me when I'm dying. So to so I'm already telling it right now when everything is like functional and when I'm in my right senses, I'm telling Om Namo Narayana so that you can count this as my chant when I was dying and you can help me get liberated. So it's a very inconceivable thing to understand what one is going. There are like descriptions written in Garuda Purana and even probably even in Bhagavatam. I'm not sure about what happens when one is like dying. So if we take up this process right now and be very consistent about it and try to get better at it, definitely while dying we will definitely remember Krishna. Does If anyone else wants to share something, you can share, or else we can go to verse 14 and I request Sundari Sakimataji to read.
Yes, text 14. Sankhetyam parihasyam va stobham helanam va vaikuntana grahanam asheshagharam vidu. Translation: one who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from the reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly to indicate something else, jokingly, for musical entertainment, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all the learned scholars of the scriptures. Text 15. Patita skhalito bhagna sandas tapta ahata hariritya avas neha pumanna harti yatanaha. If one chants the holy name of Hari and then dies because of an accidental misfortune, such as falling from the top of a house, slipping and suffering broken bones while traveling on the road, being bitten by a serpent, being afflicted with pain and high fever, or being injured by a weapon, one is immediately absolved from having to enter hellish life, even though he is sinful.
Mm.
Purport: as stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.6, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. If one practices chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, he is naturally expected to chant Hare Krishna when he meets with some accident. Even without such practice, however, if one somehow or other chants the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, when he meets with an accident and dies, he will be saved from hellish life after death.
Would you like to share your reflections, if any?
Yes. This is just reminding me of many stories that I've heard, especially this text 14 of devotees, getting into these really bad accidents and chanting the Lord's name and somehow miraculously escaping without any major damage. I remember one story. There was this little girl many years back. There was this little girl, and she had, I think, it's like exactly what this verse talks about. She fell from the top of a house through a window, and she was a baby. And she just remembers chanting Narsimha like loudly, and she would have definitely died seeing the height from which she fell from. But uh, that's what the onlookers say, that she just flew from like some distance and she just landed in a very soft spot, and there was no mark on her except there were like these claw marks near her belly. So they say that Narsimhadev actually kind of protected her personally when she was falling.
Wow.
That's something that I remember hearing about. And even thinking about, since you're talking about Narsimhadev, thinking about Prahlad Maharaj, he was protected by Narsimhadev going through so many of the calamities.
Right.
And the previous verse, so in the previous verse, the translation is talking about even neglectfully chanting the holy name of the Lord even neglectfully. That just reminded me of the story of Valmiki. I think we might have discussed his story sometime previously. I don't remember, but so he was a dacoit, and then he meets Narad Muni, and then Narad Muni tells him to chant Mara, which means to kill or to die. That's what he relates with most at the moment. And then he keeps chanting that name, and then eventually he becomes purified because it actually is a Mara Mara Mara. It means Ram. So that's what I was reminded of when I read this. It's-
Yeah, very, very strong evidences from the Shastra. So thank you for that. I think Nitya Kishori Mataji has a question.
No, it's just
Or,
a comment. um, yeah, thank you, Sundar Saki, for sharing that wonderful stories about devotees. That also reminds me of the tragic accident of about 8 or so devotees in the Nepal plane aircraft crash some time ago, and I believe the fact that His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj personally prayed for those devotees, and also for the fact that this kind of also here kind of brings in the point that even though one may dies of an accident, they may not have a chance to even think of the holy name, because it's a sudden accident. So just because that they may have prayed once before, chanted once before, the Krishna gives the assurance that you will be saved, because you don't it's not needed. And on top of that, a pure devotee like Radhanath Swami Maharaj praying for such people, such devotees who have passed away, kind of in a sudden way. It also kind of enhances, or I should say like expedites the process of getting them immediate mercy from Krishna. I think this is just something that it's very hope giving for all of us. That's all I was wanting to share.
Yeah, I actually wasn't aware about this incident, but yeah, it gives a lot of hope, and even the two evidences that Sundari Saki shared, especially it seems very recent. It definitely gives a lot of hope. Sundari Saki, do you have a comment or
Oh yeah, so
your
like thinking about what Mataji was saying, so a lot of devotees, there's also this point that comes that so should we expect the Lord to save you? I mean, if I'm going to like, should I expect Narsimdev to actually come and hold me if I'm in an accident? So a lot of devotees mention this point, and they give like a deeper understanding of this, that it's not just your physical body that the Lord is protecting. It's your soul that the Lord is ultimately protecting. He's making sure that you eventually come back. So for some devotees, it may come in the form of protecting your physical body. For some, it may be like in the form of your protecting your soul and your consciousness. So,
Right. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you that question. And what you're saying also reminds me of one of the lectures by Radhesham Prabhu, where, given the recent incidents that happened in Bangladesh, like almost a year ago, um, everybody was like, they all died. So many of them died. Like, where was Krishna? Like, was he? And then Radhesham Prabhu gives a logical answer. He says, um, to you it might appear that them coming back alive or being protected and seeing them physically might seem like mercy to you, but for all the devotional service that they have done, and and all the pious life that the brahmacharis have led, their best next position might be being going back to the spiritual world for which this incident was a tool by itself. Like what is good for us need not really mean that that is the correct way that Krishna should
Yeah.
act. Yeah, so thank you for sharing this realization as well. Actually, it seems like the last two purports were very small. So do you want to read the 16th one as well?
Okay. Text 16. Gurunam cha Nam cha Guruni cha Laguni cha Prayaschittani Papanam Jnatvotani Maharshibhihi. The translation: authorities who are learned scholars and sages have carefully ascertained that one should atone for the heaviest sins by undergoing a heavy process of atonement, and one should atone for lighter sins by undergoing lighter atonement. Chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, however, vanquishes all the effects of sinful activities, regardless of whether heavy or light. Purport: in this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes an incident that took place where Samba was rescued from the punishment of the Kauravas. Samba fell in love with the daughter of Duryodhan, and since, according to the Kshatriya custom, one is not offered a Kshatriya's daughter unless he displays his chivalrous valor, Samba abducted her. Consequently, Samba was arrested by the Kauravas. Later, when Lord Balrama came to rescue him, there was an argument about Samba's release. Since the argument was not settled, Balram showed his power in such a way that all of Hastinapur trembled and would have been vanquished as if by a great earthquake. Then the matter was settled, and Samba married Duryodhana's daughter. The purport is that one should take shelter of Krishna Balram, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose protective power is so great that it cannot be equaled in the material world. However powerful the reaction of one's sins, they will immediately be vanquished if one chants the name of Hari, Krishna, Balram, or Narayan.
Yes. Do you have any realizations for this purport? And if anyone else has any realizations, you can also add on to hers.
Just one pastime that immediately comes to mind because of the word, the react, like sins. Jagai Madhais, they were supposed to be one of the most sinful people, I think, during that particular period in time, and they were saved. So
Yeah, that's true, and it seems like that is also like very recent, like maybe 500 years ago. It just seems more relevant, and somehow I seem to, yeah, it definitely helps me gain more strength. Um, nice. Does anyone else want to share any of their realizations? Um, and before we go to the last verse, if anyone else can share any of their practical tips that they have found to be more useful for chanting, um it'll be nice if you can if you can share. Like it can be, okay, how do you fix your mind, or what do you do when your mind starts wandering, which it will. How do you bring it back? Or okay, any tip that you have been that's worked out for you, that you think it might help others. You can share it as well.
One thing I can share, um,
Mm,
I have this bad habit of taking my phone while chanting.
mm, mm,
So I thought, rather than saying neti neti, rather than saying no to the mind, which is like a naughty kid, better give it a better engagement. So what I do is I've been doing this for a few months now, and it's helped me.
mm,
Uh, so whenever I take my phone out, and
mhm,
then I Google search the Hare Krishna mantra. I go
mm,
to the images, and then
mm,
I pick any image, and I just concentrate on I pick a Sanskrit image of the Hare Krishna mantra, and I concentrate on every syllable, because it is like iti shodashakam nam kali kalmashanasham, like this, 16 or what, 32 syllables These are like, they will destroy the Kali Kalmash. So what I do is while chanting, I just try to, just think about that her, like her,
Mm.
then re, then kru, then shna, like
Ah.
that every syllable. And then that way I am meditating on the holy name while chanting.
Mm.
At the same time, I'm trying to focus my mind. And of course, the background has to be of love. Love is the most important thing. Not that I am mechanically trying to focus on the syllables. That won't work either. The meditation has to be with love in a,
Ah.
as Prabhupada mentions, the translation of the mantra is, O energy of the Lord, O Lord, please engage me in your service. With
Mm.
that mood, I try to, of course, I haven't cultivated that mood yet, but I'm trying to do that. But at
Mm.
least this helps me bring my mind back to the holy name in some way.
Wonderful, excellent, Prabhu. That's amazing. I actually saw someone in Tompkins Square Park also do this when I went there for the first time. They had this card, and that person, he didn't speak English, and he was not from India, but he had this like Sanskrit verse, and he was looking at this verse like super focused, and he was you just described how he chants. He's like very focused, and every syllable he was just like focused on that. It was really amazing. Thank you for sharing this tip. Does anyone else want to share something that's worked for them? Feel free to speak up, and then we'll go to the next last verse for today, verse number 70.
Yeah, can I share something?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Um, so this is this I read in that one of the 365-day reflections from Bhagavad Gita by His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So this is like a mind over like intelligence over the mind. So sometimes I feel like, in my mind, I do a kind of a to-do list while chanting. Like a lot of things pop up, and then sometimes I see even myself going and doing as though that is the most important thing to be done, while I have my bead bag in my hand. I need to keep this idli batter in the fridge, otherwise it will overflow, whatever. It is like as though it will feel like that is like the most prioritized thing to be done at this point, even to forego chanting and do. Of course, there may be things like that, like things that are emergency of nature. You can keep the bead bag and go, but he's given a very practical tip that has worked for me, is whenever mind you know keeps showing these things that we need to be taken care of right away, just our intelligence has to intercept and say, do I need to do this right now? Just by simply asking this question, do I need to think about this right now, or do I need to worry about this right now? Do I need to do this right now? Just asking that, just take a back seat. Immediately it takes a back seat and then comes back. Of course, this is not just a one-time activity. It keeps on happening until mind can be habituated to be asked, and mind itself will start throwing this question. So that is the point where we we can be successful at evading the mind, I guess. So something that has worked for me.
Mm. Yeah, excellent. It's an excellent practical point, because I hear you. It's like even I'm thinking about something that happened 15 years ago, and I was like, really, isn't of all out of like all the time during the day, should it happen like right now? Its mind is super powerful, and we do have to like somehow get it into that practice mode of like not thinking of unnecessary memories or unnecessary to-do lists. So thank you for sharing that, and I hope to incorporate that in my chanting too. Um, okay, so Prabhu, can you go to the next 17th verse? And I request any one of the readers to like read it.
I can read it.
Yes.
You're muted actually.
Sorry.
Mataji, can you hear us?
Yes, sorry, I was
Oh.
muted. Yes.
No, okay.
6 to 17. Taistani agani puyante tapodhana vratadibihi na dharmajam tad dridayam tad api sangri sevayam. Translation. Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot the material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contaminations. Purport. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.242, Bhakti Paresanubhavo Viraktir Anyantracha. Devotional service is so powerful that one who performs devotional service is immediately freed from all sinful desires. All desires within this material world are sinful because material desire means sense gratification, which always involves action that is more or less sinful. Pure bhakti, however, is annabhilashita sunya. In other words, it is free from material desires, which result from karma and jnana. One who is situated in devotional service no longer has material desires, and therefore he is beyond sinful life. Material desires should be completely stopped. Otherwise, although one's austerities, penances, and charity may free from sin, may free from one sin. I'm sorry. I'm just going to read it again. Otherwise, although one's austerities, penances, and charity may free one from sin for the time being, one's desire will reappear because his heart is impure. Thus, he will act sinfully and suffer. Yeah, so I mean, this is a very strong one. It says the material desires should be completely stopped if we need to be in the platform of devotional service. Not even Prabhupada does not even say pure devotional service. One is situated in devotional service, no longer has material desires. This is quite very instructive and powerful. At the same time, at least for me, it's kind of impossible. Yeah, so maybe, I think somebody else can maybe shed some light on how one should take this, to have a very practical application of this. Maybe Gaurakumar Prabhu or someone can.
Yeah, I can share a couple of things here. I was just listening to a class by His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami, who was actually talking about this very point about material desires. So he gave the example of, let's say someone likes to eat a sweet, let's say rasgulla, for example. So of course we offer the rasgulla to Krishna, and then we still eat it. But while eating it, we are still focusing on the taste of the rasgulla, not on the fact that it is prasad. As initial sadhakas. But as we progress, what Maharaj said is, we must focus more that it is prasad rather than on the taste. So then we get purified. So that is how we become free completely from material desires, by completely focusing on that object as if it is like Krishna's prasad, not on the other aspect, like the taste of that and things like that. So that is just one practical tip I just wanted to share. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Prabhu. I personally, I have actually, I have my favorite prasad. I've never, I mean, I'll say the prasadam prayers, but I don't know how much I connect to it every time I'm eating it. So, thank you for sharing that. It's more of a lesson for me. And there is one tip that I wanted to share that I found it to be useful, and I'll just share some realizations, and then anyone who wants to share anything, they can also share before we end the class. So for me, it's complementary to what Jagannath Gopal Prabhu was talking about. So sometimes, if in case it happens that the way I work, I'm a morning person, so my brain is like at its max capacity in the morning, and throughout the day it tapers down. So if I miss my rounds, and if I'm not able to mentally gather my concentration together, in YouTube there is this video. It's literally named Krishna Slideshow. It's like 1.5 hours of oh, sorry, Prabhu. Oh, okay, till we are doing till 19. Okay, okay. Sorry, Prabhu. I thought it was till 17. Okay, I'll just share this tip and maybe we can go to the other two verses quickly. And so this Krishna slideshow is like a 1.5 hour video of all the arts, especially by Hare Krishna artists. So it's a very, very nice, very every slideshow actually represents a pastime, and I've found that it's very useful, especially if I'm not able to gather my concentration together. I look at that video and chant, and every image you'll be able to relate to the pastime. There is like Ramayana, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime, of course, Vrindavan pastimes. So if and it's just like a nice background thing to just keep running in our home as well. It has a nice kirtan behind it, and it just reminds of all these pastimes. Okay, what did this devotee represent? What is the lesson? I just wanted to share it with you guys. And then okay, so let's go to verse 18. And Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, can you please read this?
Sure, Mataji. अज्ञानाद् अथवा अज्ञानाद् उत्तमश्लोकनामयत् संकीर्तितम् अघं पुंसो दहेद एधो यथा नलः. Translation: As a fire burns dry grass to ashes, so the holy name of the Lord, whether chanted knowingly or unknowingly, burns to ashes without fail all the reactions of one's sinful activities. Purport: Fire will act regardless of whether handled by an innocent child or someone well aware of its power. For example, if a field of straw or dry grass is set afire, either by an elderly man who knows the power of fire or by a child who does not, the grass will be burned to ashes. Similarly, one may or may not know the power of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but if one chants the holy name, he will become free from all sinful reactions. Again, a very strong purport. Prabhupada's own example, in the sense that not Prabhupada's own example, but the example of the hippies comes to my mind. So they just heard Prabhupada chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and they chanted as well, and that was enough to free them from all the sinful reactions. And then, yeah, we see so many of them took to a life of following the regulative principles and everything. So that's like the contemporaryest kind of most contemporary example of how the sinful reactions can be eradicated by the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, whether knowingly or unknowingly. I mean, of course, all these American hippies, they didn't know the whole background behind, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, Achintya Beda Bhed or whatnot. They just, acha hai, nice, this Swami is coming, interesting, nice tune, let's sing, So, that's how they got the Sukriti, and yeah, it's amazing. This is so. Once I had, I don't know if I shared this with the group, but one of my friends in during masters, so I happened to tell this story to her somehow, her and one other friend. So this Ajamil's entire story, and then their question was, "Hey, you guys, it's good that the story is nice, but then this is like this guy did all wrong things throughout his life, and at the end of his life, he just chanted the holy names, not even addressing the Lord, and got all the results. But here you are, doing all this, following four regs, whatnot, no onion, garlic, so much trouble. That time I was a no chocolate guy. So my friend had to get a no chocolate cake for me from Hicksville to Stony Brook to celebrate my birthday. The poor guy went all the way and came back. So yeah, so their point was, if this is the case, then why are you doing all this, right? Why are you doing orienting your life? I didn't have a proper answer for them that time, but I remember reading this purport. I remember reading this purport where it says, medicine taken knowingly or unknowingly has an effect. So that is the potency of the holy name, that taken knowingly, but it's good if we take it knowingly. That is again the point. I think from this is not the lesson is not that we chant the holy names inattentively, because inattentive chanting is also an offense. We chant at the 11th offense. It is also an offense to to be inattentive while chanting the holy name of the Lord. And then, one who desires to attain Krishna Prem should guard against all these offenses, etc., etc. So yes, we should be attentive, but this is not an excuse for us to. Um, it's like the holy name will take effect, but it also depends. The degree to which the holy name will take effect will depend on our consciousness. I guess that's what I feel. The holy name will definitely take effect, but the degree to which it will burn away sins will depend on how much we are receptive to it, how offenseless we are while chanting it.
Right,
So
right. Yeah, excellent. Very, very strong point, Prabhu. Thank you. I think and further, like purports after this, like Prabhupada actually also mentions about how, although Ajamila's chanting was not intentional, it was offenseless. So that's like the most important. Like offenseless chanting is what that counts. I think we'll be going through it in next session. Okay, last purport, and Sundari Saki, do you want to read it?
Text 19. यथागदं वीर्यतमम् उपयुक्तं यदृच्छया अजानतोऽप्यात्मगुणं कुर्यान् मन्त्रोऽप्युदाहृता. Translation: If a person unaware of the effective potency of a certain medicine takes that medicine or is forced to take it, it will act even without his knowledge, because its potency does not depend on the patient's understanding. Similarly, even though one does not know the value of chanting the holy name of the Lord, if one chants knowingly or unknowingly, the chanting will be very effective. Purport. In the Western countries where the Hare Krishna movement is spreading, learned scholars and other thoughtful men are realizing its effectiveness. For example, Dr. J. Stilson Judah, a learned scholar, has been very much attracted to this movement because he has actually seen that it is turning hippies addicted to drugs into pure Vaishnavas who voluntarily become servants of Krishna and humanity. Even a few years ago, such hippies did not know the Hare Krishna mantra, but now they are chanting it and becoming pure Vaishnavas. Thus, they are becoming free from all sinful activities such as illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling. This is practical proof of the effectiveness of the Hare Krishna movement, which is supported in this verse. One may or may not know the value of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, but if one somehow or other chants it, he will be immediately purified, just as one who takes a potent medicine will feel its effects, regardless of whether he takes it knowingly or unknowingly. Yeah. I have a question here. Like, isn't chanting the name of the Lord knowingly, isn't it in some way slightly better, slightly greater, or a lot greater than chanting the Lord's name unknowingly? Isn't that what we want to be aiming towards?
Yeah, in my opinion, yes, because I think that way you are actually reciprocating to Krishna, right? Because when the name and Krishna are not different, they are non-different. So when you say Krishna and when you're conscious about chanting it, your reciprocation with Krishna is actually like more, because you're actually feeling it, and it makes Krishna very, very happy because you're consciously chanting his holy name. But anyone else who has Any opinion, please, please share it.
I think definitely knowingly chanting is better. Um, yeah, but again, offenselessly is even better. So knowingly plus offenselessly is the best.
Mm.
Yeah.
So Ajamil was offenselessly and unknowingly.
Unknowingly,
I
yeah.
think so. From what we've read so far, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhupada kind of validates this in a couple of purports
Mm,
from this, that his was
But yeah, but remember that it didn't give him the ultimate perfection. It
right,
gave him a second
Yeah.
chance.
right.
It did not give him love of God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love of
he's
God he cultivated when he got the second chance and did his sadhana and perfected it subsequently. So that he did knowingly, right?
mm,
So
yeah.
I
He
don't know,
knowingly.
Gaur Kumar to Nitya Mataji, please correct. Sorry, go ahead, Mata.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say he knowingly repented it, and he had the association of Vishnu Dutas that
Yeah.
helped him make this decision of going to Haridwar and just spending rest of his life in devotional service. And then he got the golden, and then the Vishnu Dutas took him back.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gaur Kumar Prabhu and Nitya Kishore Mataji, please, yeah, and anyone else, please add your.
So one thing I just want to mention to Sundari Saki Mataji's question, knowingly or unknowingly chanting the holy names. So for example, if someone is very, very new and they unknowingly, when we say unknowingly, they don't know the potency of the holy name, but unknowingly they're chanting the holy names, but because they are in the moment while chanting the holy names, like for example, if someone is completely new and we ask them to chant, they're in the moment, they're completely in the moment chanting the holy names, and because they're doing that, they will get the benefit. And for people like us who have been chanting for several years now, if we can also chant unknowingly, actually, even though we know the potency, we can also chant unknowingly because we may not even be in the moment. So the point here is to be in the moment while chanting the holy names. And if you do that, then you are knowingly chanting the holy names, and only then will the full potency, the full mercy of the holy name will be showered on you. So that's my understanding, Mataji.
So, Prabhu, when you say in the moment, what are the things that we are being aware of? Like the fact that this name is non different from Krishna, or we are begging for, is there any one specific thing that we are looking for
Yeah,
when?
for me, it's like the whole verse. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinnatvam Nama Namino is what you're saying. The holy name is non-different from Krishna himself. Abhinnatva Nama Namino. But the other aspects are also important. Nama Chintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho. It's completely pure. Purna Shuddha Nitya Mukto. It's eternal. And then Abhinnatva Nama Namino. So all of these things are important. And from a practical viewpoint, I think all we have to do is just try to hear the holy name. Hear one mantra at a time. Just one mantra at a time. Don't think of 5 mantras, 10 mantras. Just one mantra at a time. And if you keep practicing this, you'll be able to chant the entire round while paying attention to the holy names. And when you do that, then over a period of time, it becomes almost natural and you start experiencing the taste of the holy names. So, of course, I don't have realizations. I'm just sharing what other people have said, but that's the way to do it. Just one mantra at a time, one mantra at a time, and then we'll get there.
Thank you, Prabhu. That was very beautiful. Yeah, does anyone else have anything else to add? Let's chant and be happy. Okay. So thank you everyone for assembling here, and thank you, Prabhu Nitya Krishna Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to share my realizations. Um, yeah, thanks to everyone, and hopefully we all have some takeaways, and we can incorporate them in our chanting and take that up as a more consistent and regular seva.
So first of all, thank you, Lekha Mataji. I think you led this discussion so nicely. You brought out so many themes, so many practical points, and wonderful. So thank you so much. I wish we can all follow your footsteps and continue doing what you're doing. So next week it's going to be Nitya Kishori leading the discussion. We don't have any readers, so I humbly request devotees to please sign up as readers for next week, and that way we can all keep relishing Srimad Bhagavatam like this together. Thank you all so much.